Okay, so let's start our brand new podcast. And because in this podcast, we are going to speak about data. Everyone wants AI, of course. But someone once said it's always garbage in, garbage out. So you need to focus on your data. You need to make the platform solid to provide a better AI. Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Kinshuk Datta. And I am with the general manager of EBX, Philip. Philip, welcome to our brand new podcast. And it feels natural to start this with you as the first episode because, of course, under this new banner of on EBX, it will be enlightening for audience to know why we are starting this particular podcast at this juncture.
Thanks a lot, Kinshuk. Very happy to be here. So yeah, it's a perfect timing because some of you are aware that now we have a dedicated business unit called ONEBX or ONEBX. I would say depending on your experience and your knowledge about EBX. But yeah, as we are creating this business unit, there's lots of questions that could be raised from our customers, from our partners about like where we are going. So usually people want to have more visibility, get to know more about our releases. So this podcast and this way of communicating would be a great way to basically to interact with everyone that is interested about EBX.
Perfect. And let's defog the word on or on. It is a homage to our origin orchestra network released EBX 6.2.3. So congratulations to our engineering team for doing that. It's a major release. Um, and we have so many new things to speak about. And Philip, we are going to open the cover one by one. We'll start with the new UI and the entire user experience. We'll be speaking about the AI related upgrades in 6.2.3. We will also be speaking about the scripting language, the performance boost, the metadata solution. Let's go directly into it. Let's start with EBX Hub or the next gen UI. What is your direction on it? Let us know a little bit about that.
Yeah. So of course the origin is that the usage of EBX is usually expanding on our customers. We have more and more people that needs to operate, I would say, from a day-to-day inside EBX. So of course the user experience and the ease of use of the solution is a key factor. The project was internally called EBX Hub, and in 6.2.3 we are introducing a preview version of this new front end. It's a preview version because it will not be activated by default. The goal is really to test it for you, to see where we are going. And what is changing, like of course, from a technical perspective, a lot of things have been upgraded, have changed, but also in terms of navigation, the way that it's working, we are introducing the concepts of cards and really the focus is to let users have potentially less information displayed, but information that are more relevant to them. So they can really focus on the information that they are working with, what is important for them. And it's also a very easy way to navigate inside all the concepts that we have inside EBX, all the different data. And you'll have a very easy way also to, I would say, to display related information. So you will really navigate from a place to another, and everything will still be displayed on the same screen. So it really, the goal is to make the work of all our users simply easier.
For our new audiences, EBX is a multi-domain master data management solution, and one of our key selling point our customers love us for that is the user experience. It's one unified platform for everyone, depending on whether you are the data steward or the business user or the admin. You just go into the same solution. It's not different application. You go into the same solution and it changes the perspective based on who you are. So the entire RBAC is built into the solution. And we are not asking our customers or our users to move away from the experience that they are getting. They will always be getting that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's the goal is really to collect feedbacks because I can already tell you that and tell everyone that the next release of EBX, lot of changes, a lot of improvements have been already made on this new front end. So yeah, it's a preview because we wanted just to show where we are going and, as you were saying, collect feedbacks. But of course, it's not like replacing the current UI that we have today. Both will work in parallel for, I would say, for a long time.
Right. So at a high level, how would you describe the theme of 6.2.3?
So there's a lot of things in 623, of course. I see this release as a kind of end of a cycle that we initiated a long time ago. For example, because of course of the new identity that we have. It's the last release that we are making under the, I would say, the TIBCO umbrella, if I may.
Okay.
But there's a lot of new capabilities and lots of things that are basically a preparation for the next release as well. So the preview of EBX Hub is just one example.
Mhm.
On the AI stuff, we'll speak a little bit more about that later, but it's the same. It was also very important in terms of resource usage optimization. We made a lot of things in 6.2.0, 6.2.1, 6.2.2 on this aspect, and we are closing, I would say, the cycle with this release. So the scripting also is one of my favorite topic, I would say.
Okay.
And we are really on 6.2.3 extending a lot the coverage, the capabilities. I've seen some comments about the fact that when you're using EBX, you usually have to rely a lot on Java. I think that now this point is definitely not valid anymore. So this is a
Yeah.
very, very important release for us.
From the user experience perspective, we are not taking away any existing features or functionality because Java customization is something that our customers really love, like when they want to go deep and they want to make a lot of changes, and they will still continue to do that.
So yes, you're completely right. So first to come back because we received a lot of questions about when the scripting and the Java and you pointed out right. It's like we don't want to replace Java, but even if a lot of things have changed on EBX, there's one thing that we don't want to change is the philosophy of the tool to say that we want to provide a generic solution that can be adapted to our customers' requirements. And again, to adapt the solution, you have different things. You can have configuration options, but we are not able to cover all the potential requirements on every domain or every use case that our customers can have. So we have the Java API that was designed to do that. Sometimes it's complexifying different things, the project lifecycle, or also the terms of resources that you need to make an EBX project. You need Java developers, and
Yeah.
sometimes our organizations or customers they don't have that. So they wanted to have an alternative, and so we introduced the scripting language. And the script IDE is a place available in EBX user interface where you can manage all the scripts. Everything related to scripting is managed in one central point. And in 6.2.3, I would say, rebuilt the ID experience to make it better and as well add, of course, new capabilities.
Okay. Fantastic. I'm looking forward to get more and more customer migrate from Java customization to the scripting and feel the ease of the solution. So that is definitely the goal. Again, like the hub, we would like um, your feedback on each and everything. If there are certain things we are missing on our scripting capabilities, we would like to know that. Um, so yeah, to make it even better.
Yeah.
Now,
If I may, we identified there's still one or two things that we want to add, and then I think in terms of coverage we should be good. And I just also to again to avoid any confusion, like scripting and Java are two ways to extend. It's not like one or the other. They both have, I would say, pros and cons, and we really want to keep these two ways of going further with EBX in the future.
Right. So thank you for clarifying that one. Today, everyone's favorite topic is AI. AI assistant was introduced earlier, and then in 6.2.3, we are adding more control, more flexibility. So explain to our audience like what is the big idea behind AI in 6.2.3?
Yeah, so it's enhancements basically to the foundations that we introduced previously. So in EBX, we have what we call the AI assistant. The AI assistant is a very control and configurable way, I would say, to make EBX interact with large language models, such as OpenAI, for example. The goal is to help business users in their data management operations,
Yeah.
for example, to standardize, normalize, enrich the data, but again, in a very controlled way. And in 623, we are adding new capabilities on this AI assistant. So one of the thing is, for example, in terms of models that we support out of the box. So we provide a list of models and providers, but some of our customers, they have their own data models, even from the same providers, like some things that are really tailored to their own needs. So now these models can be used. We also want administrators to be able to make this configuration to this LLM easier and more controlled. So, for example, by being able to test everything that they are configuring. One of the most important part about AI, you mentioned that, is about hallucinations. And so we are introducing the what we call the temperature control. So the ability, I would say, to make the cursor, the creativity of the model versus the predictability. And probably my favorite feature is about what we call virtual output fields, which is a way to be able to display extra information for the users to help them making a decision about, okay, should I trust the AI answer or not? By, for example, displaying information about like, okay, AI, where did you get this information? Or what is your confidence score in what you are telling me? So all the things that could really help users to make decisions and at the end ensure that the AI is used in a very efficient way.
And I think these are all very small nuances, but very impactful. We do want help of AI at the same time. We want to validate what
Yeah.
AI is providing is really right or not. So in this particular case, the system is assisting, but the user is deciding what information to be persisted, what we want to keep, what we don't want to keep, at the same time making their life easier. So, and that matters in MDM because master data is not just content, it drives the business decision for an organization. So having a grip on this particular data, it does matter a lot. Um, Thing that you mentioned, which is again huge impactful, is the capability of using their own AI because security is of so much concern and people don't really speaking with our customers, etc. They don't want their data to go outside their boundaries. So they do take some frontier model, but they have a customized solution. That's what they're using. And flexibility of using the right model for the enterprise is very important. And this is again something coming directly from the customer. So we did take care of that. Um, that is great. So let's move on to metadata management solutions. Over the period of time, ever since we moved from customer master, prod master to the multi-domain, uh, because of the flexibility that EBX provide, which is unparalleled, like you can go and model whatever you want, we are the true solution which starts from reference data management, taking that reference data, using it into the master data, then also defining how your reference data is being defined or your master data is being defined. That is the metadata of the solution where you're providing the business context ontology. And in the past, we have provided a SaaS solution to do that. Then we brought it into container. And now we are bringing it into the core EBX product. So I would like you to shed some light on that to explain about our metadata availability and why does this update matter to not only us, to also the customers.
Yeah. So as you were saying, we already had a module called metadata, but was only available for certain kind of deployment of EBX, mainly the what we call the EBX Container Edition. But we have a lot of customers that are not using the container editions. They are using the I would say the not the standard EBX version, but the traditional I would say packaging of EBX. And so we wanted these customers as well to have access to this metadata module because it's basically a way for them to have out of the box a place to I would say to document their data from a technical or a business perspective. And it's not even limited to EBX data. You can document data that are basically in other applications as well. We know that a lot of our customers have implemented by themselves this kind of domains inside EBX. So there's definitely a need to have at the same place the master data, the reference data, and of course the metadata. So this is part of also of, I would say, one of our directions that says that we want to have the same software everywhere, the same capabilities everywhere, whatever the kind of deployment on-prem, in cloud, or also with any version.
And I hope our listeners or our viewers do appreciate the fact that when we provide a reference data solution or the master data solution or the metadata solution, they are not different package point or different pricing factor for us. It's one pricing for you, and you get everything in the same solution. You
Yeah.
do have access to the reference data, you do have access to the master data, and now you are going to have access to the metadata. Even before you had, but it was only on the container edition, but now you have in the what you mentioned is the traditional packaging. You do get it. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I think this is also showing the vision that you have in mind, which is like to enable enterprises use AI seamlessly. And metadata does give that context to AI. It gives the relationship between the different data that we are storing not only within ABX, but also within the enterprise elsewhere. And you do need to understand what are those, um, how do you, what is the business glossary of the data, and how do you define those great data, and how do you have the lineage between them or the relationship between them. So from that perspective as well. Um,
Yeah. A typical example is like, for example, if you want to have a natural language search capability on the solution, like you want to say, give me the list of 10 customers of the most, I would say, successful customers that I have in this specific region.
Mhm.
So the AI will have to introspect the data models inside EBX to be able to match what you have typed to what has been defined from a technical perspective. And so, as well, a customer can be called a party, can be called a client, can be called by multiple different ways by the different users. So you need to have a way, I would say, to document basically what you have. And so this is where metadata is very important. And here, what I mentioned in the context of AI. And if it's available in the user interface, of course, it will be also available for other agents or for other applications that will want to interact with EBX. So that's very important if we want to make things very efficient, especially in the context of AI.
Yeah, and um, think about those layered birthday cakes that we have. I would say the flexible model is our base layer, and on top of that, there is governance and then RPAC, and then you get your AI and APIs and integration, and then the AI layer, which can take from there. Um, and the metadata is just before the governance. So that brings us to the governance cycle, mainly to the workflow and how people actually operate using this data. Um, so we'd like to dive into it. If you can share something on the changes or the updates that we have on the workflow models that is coming in 6.2.3 that people can take advantage of.
Yeah. So it's not a huge change, I would say, on the workflow side, but it's, I would say, important improvements. So in terms of simplicity of the configuration, for example, we are introducing a new option on what we call the user tasks. So tasks that should be done by people in EBX.
Mm.
For example, to allocate a task to the persons that did something previously. For example, to create some creator and then validator, I would say processes, it will simplify a lot the definition. But there's not also a lot of other things, such as, for example, the ability to launch workflows from the task scheduler. So if you want to have tasks that should be launched, for example, every day, every week, every month, I would say with the frequencies that you want. We are improving our logs also, just if you have to troubleshoot your workflows, if you are facing any issue. So it's not, I would say, some major functional improvements, but still important things that should, again, help our customers. We are kind of hunting where we have to use Java and remove it or provide an alternative.
Uh, Tell me about integration.
Yeah, we so on data integration, we have 623 is introducing different things. So multi-table SQL imports. So like you have some data that are currently stored in another database, and you want to import that inside EBX. So now you can do that basically in one shot. We have also the ability now to export the what we call the validation messages to Excel. So
Okay.
like you have some data inside EBX, you know that we have the validation engines that will ensure at any time that your data are correct. And if they
Yeah.
are not, you can have a validation message associated, like it's saying, for example, these data are not valid because of this reason. And so now when you export data to Excel, you can have access to this information as well. So it's very useful when you, for example, you have to correct data outside of EBX. And so now you'll get the data and the associated validation messages. Another capability is what we called delete by import. So the concept is that you have some data inside EBX that you want to bulk delete. And to do that now, you can simply provide a file containing the identifiers of the data that you want to delete. So again, simplify a lot the, I would say the day-to-day operations to reduce the manual work. And to conclude on that, I would say that almost all these evolutions are coming from customers. So it's just another illustration that our customers have a strong impact, I would say, on our roadmap, and that we on each release we really try to add as much things as possible that are directly coming from our customer base.
And if I may ask, how is it coming from the customers?
Yeah, they have multiple channels to do that. Of course, they can contact us, but we also have a dedicated website to do that, what we call the ID platform, where customers, partners, anyone working with EBX can directly add an ID. And this ID is then sent to our internal solutions and give us the ability to build the next releases of EBX. And everyone can potentially vote, I would say, among these IDs. And it's helping us a lot, I would say, to define the priorities between all the things that we could potentially do with EBX.
Excellent. So that is the ideas portal that we have is something where you also get visibility of not only your ideas but everyone else's ideas, and you get the option to vote on other people's ideas also.
It's called ebx.ids.aa.io.
All right, so we'll definitely put that in our link for
Yes.
people to take a look at it. Um, Going by these operational functionalities, in terms of match and merge, we have access to lineage from workflows as well now.
Yeah.
From the functionality perspective, we have also made a lot of changes in our DAMA layer, or digital asset management layer. So if you can tell us a little bit about that before we jump into the major performance enhancements.
Yeah. So digital asset management, so it's everything related to document management inside EBX. So it means that when you want to add pictures, PDF file, Excel files attached to your data,
Mhm.
then you will use this component inside EBX. In 623, there are some evolutions that were made. For example, in terms of security, with the support of Entra ID, so for Azure. There's also some improvements in terms of UX and UI. For example, there's more information that are available for the users in terms of the asset details. The Drive UI has been also enhanced. So the Drive is the place inside EBX where you upload basically your documents, and you can create folder, you can move documents from a place to another. So all these capabilities have been improved to, I would say, increase the user experience.
And for people who are listening to it and they have not used digital asset management in their MDM solution and must be wondering like why will we do that? Couple of use cases that comes to my mind, which is very famous over here in the North America region that we implemented. One was menu management, where we have some of our large customers. They when you go and order the food, looking at the POS, the images of the food and the taglines and all of that is actually being managed and stored in EBX. And now you can control what is the size of the image that you stored there, and what is the version, and then you can validate, okay, whether or not you would like anyone to store any image which is less resolution or not, because that matters when it goes up and shows in the POS, and you show it over there. Similarly, POS is just one selling point. It can also be through the website, etc., etc. We do also have solutions where we do title mastering, and the thumbnails of those titles, and the way the tags are shown on these, they can also be mastered and managed.
Yeah.
PDFs for the nutrition facts, from the legal entity perspective, the contracts and the customers and the legal entities in the contract. So there are various use cases where it does matter a lot. And this is also something which came from our customers and the flexibility of using the solution, and they asked for it, and we delivered, and that's how this became part of the uh,
Yeah,
now.
and to add also things like even if we have the drive, the documents are not, I would say, forced to be stored in the EBX
Mhm.
in EBX itself. Like we made lots of evolutions on this aspect to be able to connect to, I would say, dedicated media solutions. Like if you want to, again, for example, to have your documents that are in Azure or in a other solution, then it's completely possible. But yeah,
like an
you're
S,
right. There's a lot of use cases about that.
like an S3 bucket or
Yes.
Google Drive. Okay. Okay. All right. So thank you for that. Next, let's speak about the performance and upgrade
Mhm.
planning.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So what should the customer and administrator know before EBX 6.2.3 upgrade, which you mentioned is the last under the TIPCO banner. But before we go to the next new phase of ONEBX, what is that the administrator should be aware of when they do this upgrade?
So there's a very big optimization that has been done in 623. I would say on the foundations of EBX, on the way that we store the data inside the database. I will probably, I don't know if we'll mention that later, but basically the BLK table, which is the biggest one in the EBX repository. And so when you start 6.2.3 for the first time, there's an automatic migration that is done. And so when you will do again this upgrade, or when you will start your 6.2.3 the first time, this migration will occur. In the logs, you will be able to see the progress, but basically the message is like, don't be surprised if the first start is taking more time than the usual, I would say, EBX reboot. So just like be prepared, test it to have an idea about also the time that would be needed, because of course it depends on the size of the repository that should be migrated. But basically, we're providing all the information and also on the release notes. So test it in the non-production environment first, of course, and then enjoy what I call the BLK diet, I would say.
BLK diet. Well,
Yeah,
I think the key message that you mentioned over here is do not be surprised, right? Plan properly. Uh,
exactly. Exactly.
and then beyond the first start migration, the performance improvements are meaningful because of shortening of the GPLK table, etc., etc.
Yeah. And there's more like, I mean, the BLK table size reduction is one aspect, but we spoke about workflows a little bit as well. The engineering team rebuilt also the ways that the workflow history is working. So this is also the kind of improve the performances, and again also the what we call the resource usage. It's a huge optimization. So at the end, for our customers, they will require less resources, meaning that they will be able to save some costs.
Yeah, that's always music to my ear when you can save some cost. Um, so overall, how would you summarize the performance story? You said better storage,
Yeah.
reducing workflow history growth over time.
We didn't mention matching as
Yeah.
well, but there's some improvements that have been made on the matching side. The way that we are able to multi-thread the management of large clusters of duplicates.
Yeah.
So it's really, I would say, lots of evolutions that will have that will matter when our customers are using lots of volume, have lots of operations, complex workflows. So it's really like improvements that matter at scale. So if you go big with EBX, or if you already have a very complex implementation, you will see definitely the benefits of 6 to.
You said go big. Um, in your knowledge, how big are our customers are currently that are using ABX on the
Yeah,
base? Sorry.
it really depends. Like the biggest, for example, number of records in one table is, from what I know, is probably around 250 million records. But we have, I mean, it's completely different. Like if you have millions of records, but your records, I would say, are pretty simple, like 10 or 30 attributes. We also see customers that have potentially less number of records, but have records that are defined by 300 attributes. And so
Yeah.
I would say going big, at least for me, I don't have one metric that could tell you, okay, this
Yeah.
is our biggest customer in terms of, I would say, complexity or data volume.
And on top of that, you add the flavor of matching and the flavor of
Yes.
business object and
Yeah.
relational matching. So yeah. Um, so we do need to consider case by case to work on it. However, I think EBX 6.2.3, we are seeing a lot of changes in it, but I think it's a really balanced release. It improves the user experience. It brings in um, new functionality and features when we talk about operational, like on the workflow management or match and merge, when we speak about digital asset, when we speak about the metadata management. So you're bringing a lot of new feature, but at the same time, it is also improving the performance a lot. So it's quite a balanced release. With that, um, Philip, as we close this first on data episode, what message would you give to the customers listening to our podcast?
So first, I want to, of course, to thanks everyone. As you are seeing, we are continuing to make EBX evolve. We are really focused on everyone's success, and 6.2.3 is just another step. But there's lots of interesting things that are coming. But at the same time, I just want to encourage people to try this release, give us feedback, and of course, engage with us.
Yeah, and I would like to thank you for that, Philip. I could not have thought of a better person to start this on data episode with. So thank you for taking your time and walking through all the changes that we are bringing in. And also to our customers, like as every podcaster say, please click on that bell icon to get notified. And we are a very young organization right now. So do subscribe to our page on LinkedIn as well as on X, on or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and then on YouTube as well, where we would like to bring more frequent releases about the product as well as about our partners, about our customers. Some of our customers, they love to show what they have done with the kitchen that we have provided, what kind of broth they are cooking over there, and some of them are really interesting to see. We did saw one this morning, and which was very inspiring. So we would like to bring that to the world and for other people also to see how they have done so that they can get connected with each other. So with that, once again, thank you, Philip, and thanks to everyone who are listening. See you
Thanks,
again
Kichu,
next time.
everyone. Bye.
Bye bye.